Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Shaira and I post planner related videos on this channel. So today I am back with another bullet journal video. Last month's theme had some pinks in it, so I wanted to really steer away from the pinks. So I didn't want to just do like your generic hearts and stuff like that. So I came up with this whole like chocolate theme. Obviously Valentine's Day, there's a lot of chocolate going around, a lot of chocolate being given. So I kind of started off with this design of a box of chocolates. But so I wanted to elevate it, and I really like peekaboo, what are they called? Dutch door spreads and stuff like that. And this isn't necessarily a Dutch door because I didn't necessarily have things on the outskirts that show up. I probably might add a couple of things there just to spruce this up, but I thought it was a really cool idea. I cannot remember who I saw it from, but I saw a bunch of people do like a love letters theme, and some of them would make flaps and then put letters to themselves or something under. So I really like that idea, kind of in the same realm as like the Dutch doors theme. So I wanted to create like an actual box of chocolates underneath. So I cut out the heart for the most part. It's not a perfect heart because I did kind of have it off-centered. And then I had the design underneath kind of come right after it or come within those boundaries. So here I'm just lettering out February with my soft-tipped Fudenosuke pen. It is the green one. I showed you really briefly the comparison of the colors. Sometimes it's actually hard to tell which is the green and which is the blue unless you look really closely. So I did want to show that really briefly. So here's where the whole box of chocolates theme comes in. I thought it would be really cute if I had chocolates inside like this actual box. So I am just drawing a bunch of shapes that are the typical shapes for chocolates, which are squares, you know, diamonds, circles, hearts, and stuff like that. And then I'm just drawing like a squiggly, like kind of the wrapper portion of it. I do color them a darker brown, and I'll show you all the colors that I use today. So there you are. So I'm using 3 browns here. I'm showing you the numbers because I don't typically do that. Yep, and then here is a red, and I also pulled in a pink. Even though I'm not emphasizing the pink, I'm using it as an accent color. So here I'm coloring the very front page part. I know I'm using color pencil here. I do have, these are watercolor pencils. I wasn't sure if I wanted to color the full thing with actual markers, so I did go the color pencil route. But coloring big areas with color pencil is just such a challenge, I feel like, or at least the way I color. It's okay, but I do use water to kind of blend the colors in a little better. So I do that at some point, but I just felt like it wasn't super effective, and I do kind of wish I colored it with marker instead, but you know, it's not too bad. You'll see that I still add some marker to it. So here I'm just blending some of it, and realistically, because I drew in this crosshatch pattern, it's always just going to be crosshatched and stuff like that, which I don't mind it being like that, but so I just did that really quickly over the red parts, and then I also did it over the gold parts. So the gold ones, or the gold parts, are actually really cool because it kind of brightened up the color a lot. I feel like the red parts just weren't as effective. So when I was coloring with color pencil, I did color the darker, more shadowy parts first, and then I colored a lot lighter for the lighter portions. So I was starting to color in some of the chocolates there, but I decided to add the red border to it. And then I also add like a caramely border. This is one of the colors that I will be using throughout the spread anyways. But so yeah. Here I'm trying to draw out some of the chocolates. I did this one pattern, like the little squiggly pattern. I really like that, and I do end up using that across this spread a lot. But I did just want to try to do different patterns for the chocolates just so it wasn't boring and stuff like that. I used the darkest brown that I pulled for the wrapper. Yeah, so what I kind of do is throughout the month, I set aside whichever these markers are that I use initially, just because I'm really bad at keeping track of the numbers for my markers. not that I need it to be exactly the same each time, but I do just set them aside so they're always floating around my house. They're never in the right spots that they're supposed to be in. And eventually I do get annoyed, but I like just being able to keep them. That's why I did try to show you guys at least what the actual color numbers are, just so I'm also aware of what they are. So here I'm just drawing a bunch of things. I tried to draw a heart in the brown parts, and that's obviously not as effective. But I did just try to play around with these patterns and stuff like that. You see there where I layered the lighter brown and then the darker brown, I do use that pattern quite a bit throughout the spread. So here I was debating on painting the rest of it red, which I kind of intended to initially, but I think I might just do it later on or not at all. But yeah, so here is my monthly spread. I am really proud of how this turned out. I'm also really proud of how the cover page turned out. I feel like I spend way more time on like cover pages and like monthly views than I do like weeklies and stuff like that, just because weeklies, they're a lot more functional for me. I have general layouts that I've kind of started going into. I will try to explore different layouts still here and there, but I find myself more creative with monthlies and stuff like that. But so here I'm just making like generally a giant box of chocolates. So I did just draw the border really quickly, and then I'm drawing the boxes out. So I'm just freehanding all these boxes. You may see some of the pencil marks, some are crossed off. And that's for me to remember which days are not in February. I tend to mess that up really quickly, like figuring out which days are in what. And so I'm just drawing like really jagged, kind of squiggly lines on the outside of these boxes just to make it look like the little chocolate wrapper that comes in the box of chocolates. That took forever, so I did just do that off camera really quickly. I'm using this lighter, more caramelly brown to write down February, and I loved how this turned out. I'm just thickening some of the lines, and I know it doubles up the color and stuff like that, but I don't really mind. I did a red border for this box just to show kind of where the box was, and I wasn't super precise with the coloring and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm still really, really proud of how this turned out. So I'm just writing the numbers because I was going to erase the pencil marks right after, and I felt like I would forget which days were not in the month. And so I just erased it off camera, and then now I'm just adding different colors and patterns to these. Here I'm doing like a heart pattern. Like I said, that little squiggly pattern I do quite a bit. I tried it with the red as well. I'm trying like little different crosshatch patterns and stuff like that. I kind of didn't really have a rhyme or reason as to how I did things, but I love how this turned out. I just finished like filling out some of the dates that I need to remember throughout the month, and it's been amazing so far. Love it. So here I'm doing like more chocolate drip type things. I didn't want everything to look exactly the same with the whole chocolate box theme, so I kind of thought it would be cool to broaden the theme a little bit to generally chocolates. So I am just doing some financial stuff related here. These I'm coloring in. These are my shop, or these are bills, shop expenses, and my general spending log. I'm not gonna lie, I am really bad at keeping track of things in my bullet journal when it comes to finances. And later on, you'll also see that I do a habit tracker, but I'm really bad at that. But I don't really want to give up on it quite yet. You'll also notice that because of the way I colored it in, the top part on the left side is darker than the rest, but they are all the same color, just FYI. But so I just wrote down the titles in a darker brown. I did wish that I did it in a lighter one if it was even possible, just because that's how like chocolate, if like the chocolate name is embossed or something, it'll be lighter. But I guess there's some chocolates like Kit Kats where the name is engraved into the chocolate, so I guess that works. So here I'm just doing like a couple pieces of little single chocolate things. I used the same patterns just so it wasn't too distracting to me, but it was to note my PR squad's earnings and stuff like that. That page was really effective for me last month, so I wanted to keep that. Like I said, habit trackers, I was just not keeping up with very much last month, but I did want to keep trying. I feel like, I know bullet journals, they're there so that you can try out different spreads and you can, break away from it should you feel like it's not working for you. But so I feel like, to me, I see it as a habit tracker would be super valuable to me, but I'm just not in the habit of working on a habit tracker and like marking my finances. Or some days I get really lazy, but I do see that there is such a huge value if I get myself to do that. Here I was just debating on how I should display my habit tracker this month. I'm just doing like a row of 14. 14 columns and 2 rows. So they're just little rectangles, which I'm just going to do that off camera because at this time I'm not even really sure which habits I would like to track. Anyways, I'm going into my first weekly spread. I did do this whole squiggly chocolate pattern that I did. Not gonna lie, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. Only because I'm really not used to like really dark colors being in my spreads, and I feel like it kind of freaked me out a little bit. I thought it was a little cluttered looking, but overall the layout is pretty simple, honestly. I'll work with what it is, and obviously like by the next week it'll be a completely different spread. So I'm trying something new out where I added this week section, and it'll be at the beginning of my week just so I can allocate whichever task I'll need to. And I tried to be all fancy and wrote down the number names here, but that's pretty much it for this spread. Oh, actually, let me go back to the beginning. So here I was about to flip through, but then I realized there's this huge space on the left, and I remembered one of the biggest inspirations that I found was the quote, "Life is like a box of chocolates, you never know what to expect." And so I wanted to write that down on here just because I did have the room for it. So I just lettered that out really quickly. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I do also really, really love how this turned out. I thought it was a really cool thing to have this like front page and then flipping into the chocolate box. I love that. I love that so much. It's like a nice surprise, I feel like. But yeah, so this is the monthly and then some logs, habit tracker, PR squad. I'm going to work on that off camera. And then my weekly setup. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this bullet journal setup, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.